Li Jai and Che Xinyan are still having a battle to determine who is weaker than the other person. Li Jai is stunned at how much Che Xinyan knows about her powers, and Che Xinyan isn't so surprised at the kind of power she possesses because he had fought someone who had the same type of powers when he was in Mirim. Li Jai asked that if she killed him, would she become the strongest in Mirim, and he was amazed by her question. It also made him speechless. Because of this, he told her that she had the right to use only 3 styles to try to defeat him, and that if she won he would join her guild. Li Ji's assassin skill was Shadow Dagger. She tried all the skills and styles that she knew, but none worked on him, and on the told style failure, they stopped the battle. He was pleased with her skills, and he was satisfied that he had confirmed the true skills of a master of the Supreme Peak Realm and a high-ranking hunter. He agreed to join the Dawn Guild, but he wouldn't be affiliated with them because he didn't want to be under anyone, so he promised to help them from outside. She made him promise that he wouldn't join the Twilight Guild no matter what happened. He made a promise and he swore on his name. After the meeting with Li Jai, Che Xinyan went home to his sister. When he got home, she embraced him so tight, because she still felt like it was all a dream, and also because she didn't know what Li Jai's plan was. Che Xinyan told her about the news of becoming a hunter, and it didn't sit well with her, because she didn't want to lose him again. She wasn't convinced, and she told him to sit home and not do anything dangerous, but Che Xinyan kept persuading her that he wasn't going anywhere. He showed his sister the rubrics queue that was given to him by Li Jai for him to select his hunter skill, but when he activated the queue, he found that he was a classless hunter, meaning that he was just a normal person and not a hunter. Cha Eun-sul narrated the 6 basic classes of hunters to him, and that classless wasn't part of it. She also told him that he would have to pay a very huge amount of money for him to get rubrics cubes that help upgrade his hunter skills. She thought he was going to back down once he heard about the money involved, but little did she know that Li Ji had offered to give him a lot of money. This got her so annoyed. At Mountain Chiak, where the Dawn Guild's tutorial dungeon was, there were rabbits in the dungeon to help people have better and develop skills. Che Xinyan defeated all the rabbits, and he found a moonstone, that he could use to get money. A moonstone is a natural resource that doesn't pollute and holds an incredible amount of energy. He realized that if he used any martial art to defeat monsters, he wouldn't gain any hunter experience points. Then he went to check his hunter tab to check if there were any improvements, but there was none. When he checked, he saw that his class style was still the same as before, and he thought to himself that he should have told Li Ji to upgrade his skill. Cha Eun-sul was so upset with him, because he wasn't listening to anything she had to tell him, and also because he was getting too comfortable with Li Jai. Che Xinyan checked his tab and saw that he was ranked way lower than what he knew he was, and this got him so angry he lost his temper. He went to the part of the dungeon that had the most rabbits and defeated them all. Then he collected all the moonstones he could find from defeating the rabbits. After everything, he saw that a lot of notifications were coming up from his tab, so he decided to check. Che Xinyan was going through his tab when he saw a new notification on his swordsmanship. It had increased. Swordsmanship proficiency was now a plus. He was confused as to how this had happened, because he was fighting with martial arts skill. He asked Che Eun-sul if it was possible to gain experience points when going against monsters by using a passive skill that didn't consume MP. She confirmed that it was Moonstone he had gotten from defeating the dungeon rabbits, and then he became happy because he knew it was going to get easier for him to gain hunter points and make wealth from there on. Che Xinyan realized that if he used martial art, it would be able to gain him hunter experience points. He also realized that Park Tae-hum and Li Jie had found a way to channel their martial art with their hunting skills. That's why they were very strong. He had finally found a way around these hunting skills. Che Eun-sul is still under shock as to how her brother could do all these things that he did. She began to beg her brother to teach her martial arts, since she was still the leader of a team in the guild, even though she was on some sort of suspension. Che Xinyan had never had a student before, so he had to take a pause before he agreed to teach her. He explained to her that he was a very strict person, and she was okay with whatever it would entail for her to learn from her brother, who she always called Appa. Che Eun-sul was so scared of failing again that she had to lead an attack with her team members. Che Xinyan said that she needed to learn to protect herself and her teammates. Che Xinyan was happy that he could gain hunter experience points by using martial arts, but that wasn't all that he wanted to achieve. He also wanted to be able to master a special skill class. He explained to Che Eun-sul that someone like Li Ji had found a way to link her martial skills with her assassin skills, and that has helped her a lot. Now it was time for him to find a skill that he could link his martial art with. He checked out some skills, but they were difficult to pair up with his martial arts, and he realized that he wanted to become a wizard. He felt he had found a befitting solution to the specific skill he was looking for by becoming a wizard, but felt like it was just very stupid of him to think like that. After experiencing the hunter system, he knew now for sure that there was a big gap between the two status window and the Murim and the hunter systems. The Murim system only looked at one's own state. There wasn't any special function other than checking the level and state of the external and internal arts. On the other hand, hunter status windows displayed everything from skills to stamina and even MP. The layout is user-friendly and function is very detailed. He concluded that the personality and approach of the both systems were very different. It seemed like both systems were created by two different personalities who had similar abilities. He was thrilled that all the system required you to do was to fight monsters in order to level up, and also that rewards are given quickly, so it encourages hunters' growth, because this is way better than the way the Murim system operated. The Murim system was much slower and dangerous, also that if you couldn't attain points, you would need a faithful encounter. A faithful encounter was a heavenly god, a legendary figure that became a god through divine ascension in the distant past. He created his own martial origin cultivation art, and this was what helped him regain his sense in the cave where he had been for 14 years. After analyzing all the different systems, it started to baffle him, who had sent him to that cave in Murim for all those years. It's been a month since Cha Xinyan went around fighting monsters to level up, and as of now he had gotten to level 22 in the hunter system. He also continued to teach Chet Unsoul martial arts. When Chet Unsoul was studying the 365 blood vessels of the human body, she also learned how to channel her internal arts. Honestly, she had already passed the age to learn martial arts, but Che Xinyan found a way to teach her effectively by bringing out the internal power, by forcing the QI channels and to remove the impure QI. And because of this, Chet Unsoul was able to upgrade by 1 level. They were both so happy about Chet Unsoul's growth. Days later, Li Jai invited him to come see her for some discussion on their settlement. When he got there, while they were having tea, Li Jai asked him to go on a date with her. Cha Xinyan didn't understand what had just happened. Did Li Jai just ask him to go on a date with her? He wanted to decline when Li Jai explained the importance of the date to him. She said that a new dungeon had been formed in Butchin, and that the danger level was 10, and the estimated dungeon entry level was between 45 and 50. This meant that they had to form a party with hunters nearing high ranks, but with someone like Che Xinyan and herself, they would be able to go on their own and be in control of the numbers of the high-danger dungeons. He finally realized that Li Jai had a reason for being this helpful to him for his growth, and he confronted her. She told him about the Sun Festival where the Dawn Guild and the Twilight Guild come together annually for a battle to determine the best guild in South Korea. The Dawn Guild and the Twilight Guild are in constant conflict in determining the ownership of dungeons, leading to blood being spilled. Known to the public as it normally happens in the dungeon. Cha Xinyan asked why they were having a war over what shouldn't be, and it was explained to him that all these issues started because Park Tae-hoon wants them to follow the dictates of the Sky War God. Once Cha Xinyan heard the name, he became angry and started asking how Park Tae-hoon was related to the Sky War God. Li Jai said she knew nothing serious about the relationship between them, but that she only heard rumors of him getting a message from Nurim. She then pleaded for him to go with her to the Sun Festival, and he agreed to go with her. She gave him details about the Twilight Guild and how they have more power because they have been taking over dungeons, and their being without a leader makes it more difficult for them to have the upper hand. Che Xinyan felt like he was being silently attacked since he was the one that killed their director. He was also given instructions about the Sun Festival. He wasn't allowed to use any skill other than his hunter skills, because there would be a lot of people and media personnel. He was also given the box filled with the 6 wizard skills and the high-class mage and sorcerer skills, one of each that he requested even after his sister tried to change his mind about being a wizard. After she gave him the box of all the skills he had requested, she gave him a lot of papers, and this confused him. He asked her what the papers were meant for, and she told him that there were steps that they had to take for him to be an accomplice of the Dawn Guild. He also had to create a new guild, because that was part of the requirements for him to participate in the Sun Festival. He created a new guild, and he called it Limitless. After all these formalities, they went to the Dawn Guild tutorial dungeon, so Che Xinyan could test out his new powers, and Li Jai was shocked at how well he could handle the new powers. Somewhere in Seoul, the villa of Twilight Guild's leader Park Tae-hoon was feeding the fish in the river when the Twilight Guild leader's subordinate Kim Cholo came to give him a report on Dawn Guild's subordinate guild leader, Li Jai, and her recent activities, which involved Che Xinyan. When Park Tae-hoon heard about Che Xinyan, he started to ask questions about his whereabouts for the past 14 years, and he put the pieces together and figured out that Che Xinyan had just come back from Murim, and he became very interested in Che Xinyan. Che Xinyan was still in the dungeon enjoying testing his new skills, because they were so easy for him to understand and use. He explained to her that the skills that she had just given to him had the coolness for him. Li Jai was still thrilled as to how he was able to master all the skills in such a short while. That's when she noticed that there were some strange movements in the dungeon. This was a very dangerous thing because they could be in danger, and how would they have fought them all off? Che Xinyan knew that those monsters were in the dungeon, but decided not to chase them off because he wanted to fight the boss with his new powers. Just as Che Xinyan was fighting the boss monsters that he had intentionally told them to leave in the dungeon, Li Jai, on the other hand, was seeing a lot of strange things that are seen that the new development in the dungeon could harm the Dawn Guild members in the dungeon, and that would be bad for them. Che Xinyan was up in the sky fighting the monsters with his new skills, and he didn't see that there was a gate that all the monsters were trooping in from. Li Jai noticed and tried to alert him about them, but he couldn't hear her. She knew she had to help him while he was up there, but little did she know that he was aware of it all, and that he was just charging up to use another new skill that he had just been handed. When he used the skill to defeat all of them, at once she was again very surprised at his perfect use of skills. She started thinking of a lot of things and didn't notice that Che Xinyan was asking her a question about the new stone that he had acquired after killing the big monsters. Li Jai heard what he was saying and told him he had acquired a monster skill because he had acquired a large monster and killed it. She had something that she needed to tell him also. A month later, the rooster for the Sun Festival was out and the Twilight Guild members were discussing it. There is an emergency meeting in the Twilight Guild office concerning the rumors about the new Dawn Guild member, and it looks as though they plan to eliminate him before the Sun Festival. The Twilight Guild leader's subordinate Kim Cholo invited Che Xinyan to a restaurant to meet with him and monitor him to give detailed information to Park Tae-hoon. Kim Cholo came to the restaurant with a magic tool known as the sound insulation tool. It's a tool that blocks out external noise, and it's very good for having private conversations. Che Xinyan was surprised that he would bring that to a harmless meeting, but what bothered him the most was what Kim Cholo had to say. The Twilight Guild wanted to partner with him and his guild Limitless. He rejected the offer before listening to everything that Kim Cholo had to say about what their partnership would entail. He didn't get much information on Che Xinyan, and this got Park Tae-hoon asking who this mysterious man was. When left the restaurant, he called Li Jai and gave her an update on what had happened between himself and Kim Cholo. Li Jai and Che Xinyan had also been investing in what had happened in the tutorial dungeon when they were there. After the conversation, Che Xinyan and his sister Che Unsil went to their parents' graves, and it was so strange for Che Xinyan because he didn't know how to express his feelings. This didn't sit right with Che Unsil because she expected that after these years he would have had at least an emotion on his face when he got to their graves, but he didn't. She was so cross with him, but all this happened when he was taken to that place in Murim. While he and Che Unsil were having a discussion, the Murim system tab popped up, and Che Xinyan was surprised that it did. The Murim system popped up and asked him questions that he didn't understand. He suspected it was the Sky War God, but didn't answer him on that. There was a threat on the pop-up saying it was going to take all that he cared about and owned away from him. After this, it disappeared back into the air. Che Unsil was walking hurriedly away from the argument she was having with her that she didn't notice he had stopped walking behind her. This got her more upset at him. A few days later, the day for the Sun Festival has come. While it's a festival that brings the Hunter Society peace and brings them together, you can also see the hunters themselves in action. That's all that the festival was about. Meanwhile, Che Unsil and Che Xinyan were still having an issue, and Li Jai noticed the way they were with one another. She asked, and Che Xinyan told her about the message he had received from them some days back. He told her he needed to move out of Che Unsil's house so that she isn't in danger when the Sky War God comes after him, but Li Jie told him that would be the best reason for him to stay with her so he could protect her, but he felt like she didn't want him around her anymore because she felt like he was a different person from who she knew before the accident. Li Jie was upset that he would be thinking of leaving his sister, and she was giving him reasons to stay with her no matter how he assumed she felt. She had to leave and go to open the Sun Festival officially. The festival starts with the ceremony of both guild leaders and their vice-guild leaders. The relationship between Lee Jai and Park Tae-hoon is strained because they both support two different things, and also because they were both assassins in the Murim, but Park Tae-hoon turned on her. Let the Sum Festival begin.